John Legend, every time he's playing, he has a bottle of Hint on stage with him. And people always say, how do you get John to do that? I'm like, I don't. I mean, John does it on his own. John just brings it up there because he loves drinking our product.
You're listening to Financial Grownup with me, certified financial planner Bobby Rebell, author of How to Be a Financial Grownup. And you know what? Being a grownup is really hard, especially when it comes to money. But it's okay. We're going to get there together. I'm going to bring you one money story from a financial grownup, one lesson, and then my take on how you can make it your own. We got this. That was our guest this week, Hint founder and CEO Kara Goldin, talking about musician John Legend, who, fun fact, is an investor in her company. Who knew? We're going to get into how that came about and what the experience has taught Kara about not just getting celebrities to invest or getting them to endorse your company and brand, but understanding how to make sure you choose the right partners. Welcome, everyone. Here on the Financial Grownup Podcast, we share money-related stories from high achievers that we can all learn from. And this one is a fantastic story that's really going to make you think every time you see a celebrity endorsing a product. How much skin in the game do they have, if any? Have they even tried the product? You'd be surprised. Our grown-up this episode, as I mentioned, is Kara Goldin. She is the founder and CEO of Hint, a healthy lifestyle brand that produces delicious, unsweetened flavored water, as well as a fruit-infused sunscreen that is oxybenzone and paraben-free. She also hosts and produces the podcast Unstoppable, where she interviews inspiring entrepreneurs. And she has in recent years become very selective about where she takes funding for her growing business. Here is Kara Goldin. Kara Goldin, you're a financial grown-up. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. You are big time. You are the founder and CEO of Hint, which for those people that don't know, it's delicious but unsweetened water, flavored water. And also you have suntan lotion, which is great. And as if that weren't enough, you have a podcast called Unstoppable, which I am a new fan of. By the way, I should mention, because you don't have enough on your plate, in addition to being a mom of four, you have a book that you are putting the final touches on.
I am. It will be out next September. And the title appears to be, we're still possibly adjusting it, but Undaunted. So we're very, very excited about it.
Your money story is about paying attention to where the money's from. Tell us your money story.
Well, one of our investors, probably the most famous of our investors, is John Legend. I mean, John Legend, every time he's playing, he has a bottle of Hint on stage with him. And people always say, how do you get John to do that? I'm like, I don't. I mean, John does it on his own. John just brings it up there because he loves drinking our product.
So I have to ask you, how did John Legend become an investor?
So John actually, it was almost 10 years ago now that he reached out to us. He had been drinking Hint actually in Starbucks. We were in all 11,000 Starbucks stores nationwide, and he had picked up a bottle and really enjoyed it. Then reached out to us, and I have to be honest, I didn't know who John was. And, you know, he's grown a lot in the last 10 years, and he called just trying to understand if this was a product of Coke or Pepsi, and he was surprised to hear that it wasn't, and that he was like, gosh, this is really good. You're not using sweeteners of any kind. You're not using preservatives of any kind. I think that you guys have an incredible mission that is sitting in front of you to really help people get healthy. And he said, I'm super curious if you guys are taking on investments. I'd be really interested. So when we did our next round, I reached back out to him and I said, I'm not sure if you're interested, but you know, in addition, I really want to meet you, because that's a whole other piece that I wanted to meet everybody who's invested in our company as well. And so I might not meet them on a monthly basis, but I think it's also a very important thing to really understand where these people are coming from and do they buy into your mission. I think that's really important. So yeah, so that was how John came on, and he's just been a huge advocate and has been, you know, even called by people who were thinking of investing in the brand that knew him as well, even before when they found out that he was an investor. And he's just a great advocate and good reference too for what we're doing.
We talk about different stakeholders and different investors and what they bring to the table. So with a celebrity investor like John Legend, what does that bring to the mix that is complementary, that's different from just your average investor?
It's interesting. I think the key thing that I share with other entrepreneurs who are raising money about celebrities, whether that's a sports figure or an actor or performer, is that do they actually, believe in your product? Do they drink your product, right? Because I think that if they don't actually understand what you're doing and if they aren't a fan already, it's very confusing to the consumer and it looks phony. And so gone are the days where you can pay a celebrity to do an endorsement and throw it up on a billboard and people actually believe it. And so I think that there has been a shift in let's go invest in these companies, but I still think that there's a lot of these, celebrities that are really just doing it and then they're not actually, they don't believe in it and they'll be walking down the street and drinking something that is totally counter, in the case of a beverage company to sort of what you're doing. And if you end up on TMZ and you're not really living the brand, then I think it's just really phony. So I think there's confusion to so many, like, do I take the money from these celebrities or not? The sniff test, as I call it, is do they love the product already? I mean, we've had calls over the years from a lot of celebrities, and I'm always willing to send them a case if they haven't had Hint and, just see what their response is. And if the response is, yeah, they liked it okay, that I'm like, you have to love it. You have to really understand why we're doing this. Because for me, again, it's not just about having a great tasting product. It really is about a mission to really help people drink better tasting water. That's like a huge thing. And I mean, I also just don't want people involved in the company who are going to ultimately do something to tarnish the brand. And that's really the challenge, I think, with celebrities overall. So that's the key thing. I think another piece that comes up for a lot of entrepreneurs, and we've never done it this way, but I've heard that there's celebrities out there that just want equity in the company and they don't put any money into the company because they believe like they could help the brand in some way. And I don't know, I think you really have to have skin in the game and put some kind of money into the company too, because if you're just getting equity in the company, it's probably a deal that you ultimately want to pass on.
And I think it's interesting because a lot of celebrities, I mean, I think about Ashton Kutcher and Bono, and they've done real investing for real. And the ones that, from what I know, have been most successful are the ones that really are putting their money into it and their time and their attention, and they believe in it. And it sounds like that's something in your case that Mr. Legend does do.
Yeah. And I think, very similar to successful entrepreneurs today, I think that if you have an investor who doesn't know why they're investing, then you should not have them investing in your company. It's such a key thing. Like if they're just investing because they've seen that John Legend invested and they want to ride the coattails of John, I don't know. I just think that that's like, they're too high profile and they will be asked along the way and they will be watched along the way. So again, I don't want to do anything for them that's going to tarnish their image either. So I think like that's such a key piece. And I feel like just because you're saying, I don't want your money, it doesn't mean that you can't have them, in the case of Hint, drinking the product, right? I think basically having the conversation with these people like, look, we want to create a win-win here for you too. And if this is going to be uncomfortable for you, I'll never forget this one quick story. We had a celebrity approach us, actually an agent approach us, and he said this individual singer like loved Hint and called me and he said he loves it, he thinks it's really great. And I remember going home to my daughter and I said, gosh, like the singer, you know, who will remain nameless, just loved our product and thought it was really great. And I said, we might actually do something with him. He wants to invest, et cetera. And my daughter, who, is a teenager, she knew exactly who he was, but she said, oh, that's really interesting. And she said, well, last year he did a deal, an endorsement deal, not an investment, but an endorsement deal with 7-Up.
Which has a lot of sugar.
Which has a lot of sugar in it. And I said, huh. I Googled it and saw it was true. And unless he was willing to actually say, like, I've seen the light and I don't want to have like sugar anymore, and I found Hint, and he's able to tell his why and speak to it, then I just think it's affecting your own brand ultimately. And it will be like, he could be ridiculed. And here a 14-year-old was telling me this, and I went back to this guy's agent, and I said, I have to tell you the story. And I told him what my daughter had said. And he said, well, no matter where this conversation goes, could I please hire your daughter? Because she's like, she really understands the stuff. So being careful about where you're taking an investment.
So what is the lesson for our listeners from this?
I think the big takeaway is know where your money is coming from and how it could ultimately affect you down the road.
So for your everyday money tip, you have some advice of some basically free or almost free things that people can do and get discounts on right at their own company that many people don't even pay attention to.
Yeah, so it's the beginning of the year, and maybe you're looking at a new job opportunity. Definitely look for jobs that have equity potential, because that's ownership in a company. That's almost free money to have in addition to your salary. So definitely look for opportunities like that. But if you're also in a company that does not offer equity, there's often stock incentive plans at discounted rates that you can join on to and participate in. And then in addition to that, there's all kinds of benefits internally that just make sure that you know about those things at the beginning of the year so that you're not stuck at the end of the year realizing that you left a bunch of money on the table.
Tell us more about Hint, where we can buy it. I love the website's great because you can also buy it in bulk and have it delivered, which is so handy. I'm a big believer in automation. So tell us more about that and where people can find you personally and your podcast.
Yeah, so go on to drinkhint.com as our website, and we're also available in great stores like Target and Whole Foods and Sam's Club and lots of other places, Amazon as well. And you can find me mostly on Twitter at Kara Goldin, KaraGoldin, as well as lots of other places like Instagram and Facebook too. And in addition to that, the podcast is called Unstoppable with Kara Goldin, and we would love to have you listen and also join in and let us know any feedback.
And you have amazing and accomplished entrepreneurs. And the great thing about Unstoppable that I really enjoy is that you're very issues-based and you're giving a spotlight to things that aren't on a lot of other podcasts. So I do highly recommend. I am a listener myself, so make sure everybody subscribe. And thank you, Kara.
Thank you so much.
Here we go, my friends. Financial grown-up tip number 1, and it has to do with taking money from investors or for just any reason from somebody when you need cash. Money has strings. That's why you pay interest to banks. They want something which they should get because they're lending you or giving you the money. When you take money from someone or an entity, think about their angle. Are they giving you money to help you and or what you are building? Or do they have maybe an ulterior motive that you may not be in alignment with? Could they become a liability because you're affiliating with them? And depending on the terms, they could have a lot to say about the future of wherever that money is going. Financial grown-up tip number 2. There's a lot more to compensation than just the cash in your paycheck or from a client paying their bill. As Kara recommended, don't leave money on the table or wherever. Go read your HR website in full. It may not be boring. It may be kind of interesting. Maybe take notes if you aren't going to do the things now. Or if you are self-employed or a freelancer, read up on the tax code. Yeah, the tax code. And what you can do to maximize benefits you may not even realize you're entitled to. And look into groups that you can align with to get benefits. As an example, here in New York City, we have TDF. That stands for Theater Development Fund. And you can join if you fit a number of categories, one of which is freelancer. And that means you can get tickets for Broadway shows for as much as 70% off. That's a benefit, much like you would get when you work for a company. You also can get free membership, for example, to cultural institutions like museums by getting a New York City ID. So check what's available in your city. Let me know what you find. DM me on Instagram. I am at BobbyRebel1. You can also be in touch on Twitter at BobbyRebel. And if you have not already, I would love it if you got on the Grownup list. You can do so at my website, bobbyrebell.com. Big thanks to Hint's Kara Goldin for helping us all be financial grown-ups. Financial Grown-Up with Bobby Rebell is edited and produced by Steve Stewart and is a BRK Media production.